Hello, my name is Madison Farrish, and this is the Free Artist Movement. It's all about empowering artists to be mentally, physically, and spiritually free, to harness peak creative energy and really step into making their dreams here a reality with confidence. So I'm here with Dr. Jeffrey Gurian, who is an incredible human. You know, you're a doctor, an author, a comedy writer, and just so much more. So I'm so excited to have time to talk today with you.
Thanks so much, Madison. It's really great to be here with you. I'm excited to do this. I really
Yeah.
am. I like you. I like what you're doing. I like the message you're putting out. It's
Thank
all
you.
very pertinent and very, very important.
So I would love to hear where, like a little bit about your journey, how you got to what and how that integrated or paralleled your spiritual and empowered path, closer to yourself.
hmm It's even confusing to me. And, as years go on, I realize that, from a spiritual point of view, that we all have a path. And sometimes it's hard to find your true path. But when you do, the universe comes together to support you in that. And it helps you
Absolutely.
along that. So a lot of times during our lives, especially when you're young, it's confusing and you're not sure what direction you're supposed to take. But you're supposed to use your intuition to do it. So when I was 12 years old, I already decided what I wanted to do in life. I decided that I wanted to be a doctor, but I knew I couldn't handle life and death situations
Mhm.
because of my sensitivity. I was such a sensitive kid. If I thought of like that one of my grandmothers lived alone, it would bring tears to my eyes. I remember that. I decided that I wanted to be a dentist because I think I was having orthodontia at the time, and it looked like a nice thing to make people look beautiful. That was
Yeah.
my goal. I love making people look beautiful. I should add that I was a very severe stutterer. I started stuttering when I was about 7 years old, and I stuttered through my 20s and beyond. And it's one of the things that led me to where I am today. Very often, life presents you with obstacles,
Mhm.
and they're very unexpected obstacles. And you
Mhm.
could either crumble or you can overcome them, because any
Mhm.
thought you create, you can also uncreate. And
Mhm.
so I made a decision that I was not going to go through the rest of my life as a stutterer.
Yes.
I applied to dental school when I got out of college, and I was accepted, and I was treated very, very badly. I expected to be treated very well
Mhm.
by the doctors. I thought that they would welcome you into the profession, but
Mhm.
instead, it turned into a 4-year fraternity hazing. I was treated poorly from day one. On day one, the dean of the school made a speech and he said, "We don't want any free thinkers here." And in those days, it was stylish to have a mustache and sideburns, right?
Yeah.
We're going back away. So I grew a mustache and sideburns, and I was banned from school. There was one instructor who had a Confederate flag in his office and a sign that said, "The South will rise again." And he abused me terribly. They would humiliate me in front of patients. They told me that I would be a disgrace to the profession, and they tried to make me drop out of school. And my parents, um, they said they understood if I wanted to drop out that they would support my decision. And that was one of the first times in my life that I said, no one will ever do that to me. I stuck up for myself. I said, I will never let them get the best of me. I'm
Yeah.
going to graduate. I graduated at the top half of my class. I graduated number 54 out of 126 students,
Wow.
despite the fact that they literally tortured me. I was
Yeah.
banned from school for 3 weeks.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, how I got around it, my mother bought me a wig. They didn't like my hair. My hair was so short. It was much shorter than this even.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let me go to school. So she bought me like a flat wig with a part, and they gave in. They said I could have a mustache, but it has to go up in the air like Salvador Dali. I looked like a lunatic, but but they let me in school. I'm wearing a wig and a mustache up in the air like a maniac. And as long as I wore a tie, they said, "Oh, now you look like a doctor." I look like a crazy person. I don't think I had a date the whole 4 years I was there. I thought if any girl liked me the way I looked, I wouldn't even want to be with her. And and so while I'm in dental school and I'm still blocking and stuttering, I'm not speaking, and because they tried to destroy my self-confidence and self-esteem, which is very important for artists in general. In my third year, I met Woody Allen. Um, it was always my dream. There were only three people I ever wanted to meet as a young person: Woody Allen, Salvador Dali, and the Beach Boys. And I managed to meet them all. I spent an evening with
Wow.
Salvador Dali, and I went
What?
backstage with the Beach Boys. And I always felt that I could manifest whatever I wanted to in my life.
Yeah.
And I got to show Woody Allen my comedy writings. And he was so nice. He actually invited me back the next night to read through them. And he
Mm.
encouraged me. You know, my dream was that he'd say, Jeffrey, you're amazing. Let's make movies together. But that didn't
Mhm.
happen. I would go to the theater and I would drop off these little notes on the back of my dental school card. Hey, Woody, I haven't seen you in a long time, and I'll be coming to
Yeah.
the show. And I would add strange things. I'm bringing my cardboard thumb. I wrote ridiculous things, you know. And the night, I mean, I didn't have any money for tickets. I must have saved up money. I
Yeah.
begged this girl to come with me. I go to the theater and I leave my final note and I said, Woody, I'm here and I'll be back during intermission.
Mhm.
So intermission comes and I'm in a panic. I'm so nervous. And she's like, listen, you can't back out. You have to do this because I came with you. And I go back and the stage manager is like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, Woody's expecting me.
Yeah.
He's like, go right in. So I go in and his dressing room is empty. He's in another dressing room. It was called Play It Again, Sam. That's the name of it.
Okay.
And his dressing room is empty and he's in with the entire cast in one room. And I go up to the door and I remember this like it was yesterday. And I look in and he's sitting on a couch across the room. And I go like this to him, like a child. And he goes like this, me? And I'm like, yeah, you, come over here. And he's actually holding my card and he says to me, you must be Jeff. And at that moment, I lost it. I was like a kid meeting my idol. And I started saying ridiculous things to him, like, let's open up a day camp and throw winter clothes at people. I said, and let's walk low like we used to in Europe. He looks at the girl I'm with. He goes, "This guy's an effing nut." He goes, I realized I was getting carried away. I had to like calm down, you know.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, "Look, I'm a comedy writer, and I everyone says that I write things that are like you, and I was hoping that you would look at my stuff." And he said, "Well, I'm in the middle of a show. Do you think you could come back tomorrow night?" And I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, I'm much too busy." No, I said, "Of course I'll come back tomorrow night." So I begged the same girl to come with me the next night, and she agrees, and it's a rainstorm, and I come back, and he reads all my stuff. He spent about an hour with me, and
Wow.
he said to me, "It's very visual. Your stuff is really very visual, and you should think of making a film out of it," which I did a few years later. I made
Mhm.
a crazy film called the Men Who series about men who do very unusual things, like men who take a pitchfork to the movies, and men who enjoy Latin dancing with tools. I have a guy doing the tango with a wrench that is like unbelievable. So I had all these like strange thoughts and I made them into films.
Yeah.
And so when I got out of school, I went into practice. You know, I got married early. I was blessed with two daughters and I started writing comedy. I wanted to add this interesting story. I told you how poorly I was treated in dental school.
Yes.
About 6 months ago, no, it's a little more than that now. It was, I guess, around January. Time is weird because I've been in the
Yeah.
house like everyone else since
Yeah.
last March, right? I get an email from the dean of the dental school that I graduated from, who was not the dean when I went. The dean when
Yes.
I went, it was horrible. This is a new dean, and his secretary sends me a message. The dean would like to come to New York to meet with you and take you out to lunch. And I'm thinking, why would you want to meet with me? I don't even know if I want to see this guy
Yeah.
because I have such bad memories
Yeah.
of how I was treated. And that's something that we didn't get to, but I would like to be able to talk about that soon. So I wound up agreeing because, as I mentioned earlier, I confront my fears. I don't
Yes.
let things stop me. And I looked at it as an opportunity because sometimes the universe will present you with an unexpected opportunity.
Hmm.
And I said to his secretary, "You mean he wants to meet with me and a whole bunch of people?" And she said, "No, just you." And I said, okay, I agreed to do it. I expected that he was going to ask me for a donation to the school because I was treated so poorly that I never did anything with the alumni. I really wanted
Okay.
nothing to do with them.
Yes.
So I agreed to show up. He brings another dean with him. They take me to this fantastic restaurant. And I thought to myself, this is an opportunity for me to get some closure. The universe
Mhm.
is giving me this unusual opportunity. I'm going to tell him how poorly I was treated and what
Mhm.
happened to me and how it affected me. And I brought a screenplay that I wrote about it, and I brought pictures of my
Mm.
cosmetic work. I wanted to show him how good I was at what I did because I was a cosmetic specialist.
Mhm.
And I used to make people look beautiful. I gave them beautiful smiles if they didn't have them to start with.
Yeah.
And I did it in one day. I used to lecture on it, and I lectured all around the country on cosmetic dentistry.
Mhm.
So I show up at this thing, and I start to tell him my story about how poor I was treated. And he interrupts me and he says to me, I want you to know that those guys were racist and anti-Semites. And I
Wow.
said, wow. I said, thank you so much for saying that after all these years, because I always harbored that thought in my mind that that's why I was picked on.
Yeah.
And he said, we've changed the whole culture of the school. Those guys are long gone. We would never treat anybody that way. They wound
Wow.
up inviting me to come to the school. He said, we'll send a car for you. I want you to come down and spend a couple of days. And I want you to lecture to the students and tell
Mhm.
them about your experience and how you were treated. Because he had read about me on the internet. And he said
Mhm.
that I was, he said that I was one of their most accomplished graduates and that he
Mm.
wanted me to tell my story to them
Mhm.
because he thought it was very inspiring. Not only didn't he not ask me for a donation, he asked me if he could give me a hug. And I said, absolutely. And I have pictures. I have to show you. I have pictures of me and these two deans, one dean on either side of me. Needless to say, I didn't look like either of them. And and so then the pandemic hits, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not able to go down there. Well, last week I finished up a series of lectures. They hired me to give a series of lectures to the doctors and the alumni about
Wow.
the power of thought, not
Wow.
about dentistry, not about medicine, but
Yeah.
about how to think differently, how to change frustration to enjoyable, and how to change hate to love.
Mhm.
And he even said to me, he goes, I bet you can't believe that the dean of the school is asking you to do this, right? I said, in my wildest dreams, I could have never guessed anything like that would happen. I did 5 lectures for them.
Mhm.
And now they just hired me to do a comedy show for the doctors
Wow.
on December 21st and 22nd. He wants me to do 2 shows. So
That's
I said, like,
beautiful.
it's unbelievable. You can
Yeah.
never imagine what could happen in your life
Yeah.
if you open yourself up to possibilities. If you say yes to things,
Yeah.
don't don't say no. When an opportunity comes up, challenge yourself. It's going to
Mhm.
make you nervous. You know,
Mhm.
I my recent book, Fight the Fear,
Mhm.
Overcoming Obstacles That Stand in Your Way. This
Yeah.
is my 7th book, the second in the happiness series.
Mhm.
And it's about things like that. I had to fight the fear. I had to conquer stuttering. I was afraid to speak to people. I had to fight the fear to get on stage to perform.
Mhm.
Because if you start performing when you're in your 20s and nobody knows you, you have the freedom to bomb. That's how you
Yeah.
get better. But by the
Yeah.
time I was ready to start performing, I had already written for a lot of big stars and I felt too much pressure and I was afraid
Wow.
to go on stage. So I had to fight that fear.
Yeah.
Fear is a bully and it
Mhm.
doesn't want you to accomplish anything. It wants you to stay in bed with the covers over your head,
Mhm.
you know, and that's not acceptable to me. So
Mhm.
even though I grew up with a very supportive family and a very loving family, somehow I grew up with a lot of fears
Yeah.
and I fight them on a daily basis. And a lot of
Yes.
artists find this creative and sensitive people often have a lot of fears of whether they'll ever be successful, whether they'll ever
Mm.
be accepted, because you're always looking for approval. You're showing
Mhm.
people your work, and
Mhm.
some people are not going to like it. And then there's a sense of rejection, and we
Mhm.
tend to take it personally. And so, like, I have fears of traveling. Last year, I made myself go to Japan all by myself. The
Wow.
scariest thing I ever did in my life. A 14-hour trip on the plane. My knowledge of Japanese was very limited. I studied level 1 3 times,
Yeah.
and I just went, and I was lost. I was literally lost every single day, and I never let it stop me. I went to every city. I went from Tokyo to Kyoto to
Wow.
Osaka. I spoke Japanese to people. I tried to get by. I, I made it. I couldn't believe
Yeah.
that. I performed in 2 comedy shows while I was over there.
Wow.
I found spiritual meetings that I went to, and I connected to people, and I confronted my fear. I said, F you to the fear,
Hmm.
because it's not acceptable to me. And so after I had COVID, I wrote this book because I've been in the house for months, and I wanted to write a book to inspire people. I read this thing, and it's so pertinent. It says, courage is not a lack of fear. Courage is having the fear and doing it anyway.
Hmm. That's
And
beautiful.
that's very meaningful to me,
Yes.
because if I let the fear stop me, I would have never accomplished anything. And you were
Hmm.
kind enough to read off a list of things that I've done. And, I wish I could have done them all comfortably, but the important thing is that I did them.
Yes.
I didn't let my fears aren't real. It's your thoughts,
Hmm.
and one of the lectures that I did at Temple University was don't believe your thoughts. A lot
Mm.
of us are holding thoughts that are not valid for us.
Wow.
I spent 20 years on the board of the Association for Spirituality and Psychotherapy. And
Yes.
it's a very interesting group. It's not my training, but they accepted my work because I was a clinical professor at NYU in oral medicine and orofacial pain.
Hmm.
And I developed a way to take away headaches and physical body pain
Wow.
caused by stress using just my hands, no injections, no drugs,
Wow.
just energy
Yes.
healing. And I was there for 12 years, and they let me lecture to the doctors there about how to do that technique.
That's
And this is
beautiful.
a statement that I found in a book. It's
Hmm.
not my own. I wish it was, but it's an amazing statement. And it's called About Fear. And see if it's meaningful to you, if it resonates with you. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our
Hmm.
deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We were born to manifest the glory within us. It's in everyone. And
Hmm.
as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And that's from a book by Marianne Williamson, A Return to Love. And
Yes.
it's such a powerful statement, because what it's saying to people is it's okay to be successful. It's okay to be a superstar.
Yeah.
It's not going to make you look egotistical. You're going to become an inspiration to other people. So
Absolutely.
when you show them that you can do it, then they understand that they can do it too.
Yeah.
Like, so I use this, I work with stutterers from all over the world, and I teach them how not to stutter. That's an
Wow.
avocation of mine, because I'm so grateful that I was able to figure out a cure.
Yeah.
And in life, I think that we're given obstacles to overcome so that we can help other people who also
Absolutely.
face the same obstacles. So when you tell them that you did something, the spiritual aspect is that we're all the same. We're all built the same. We have the same 46 chromosomes. We have the same parts.
Hmm.
If I can do something, theoretically, you could do it too.
Exactly.
And that's
Yes.
a message that's very important to carry. You're carrying a very powerful message.
Thank
And
you.
I can't wait to hear the feedback from
Thank
people
you.
who
Me
get the
too.
opportunity to hear this. I think it's
Yes.
going to be wonderful. And
Yes.
I'm very pleased that we could do this together today. You're a
Thank
wonderful
you.
person. And if
Thank
you
you.
were in New York, I would give you a big hug.
Perfect. We'll schedule it soon.
Absolutely. I certainly hope so. And
Well, thank you.
I wish everybody to stay safe and healthy and have great holidays. This is a very big
Absolutely.
month for holidays. So I wish everybody a happy holiday and a happy new year and just to stay well. That's all.
Absolutely. And thank everybody for tuning in, and feel free to come back tomorrow. We're going to have more experts, authors, artists sharing their perspectives on artist empowerment. And thank you again, Dr. Jeffrey. This was an incredible opportunity.
You're very welcome. We'll talk
All
soon.
right.